Good morning and welcome to your Sunday service. I'd like to start off by saying Happy Mothering Day to all the mothers. Mothering Day is an observed day in the United Kingdom and Ireland. It is held on the fourth Sunday of Lent, which is a time of preparation and reflection before the celebration of Easter. This event is marked by prayer, fasting, and helping others in need. Now, for this week, we'll be taking a look at the practices and beliefs of the church, while gaining an understanding of how personal integrity can be utilized in your life. And lastly, having a look at how you can be a benefit to the best friend you will always have, yourself. So let us start with the reading of the Creed of the Church of Scientology. We of the church believe that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights, that all men have inalienable rights to their own religious practices and their performance, that all men have inalienable rights to their own lives, that all men have inalienable rights to their sanity, that all men have inalienable rights to their own defense, that all men have inalienable rights to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own governments, churches, and organizations, that all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others, that all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind, that the souls of men have the rights of men, that the study of the mind and the healing of mentally caused ills should not be alienated from religion or condoned in non-religious fields, and that no agency less than God has the power to suspend or set aside these rights, overtly or covertly. And we of the church believe that man is basically good, that he is seeking to survive, that his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows in his attainment of brotherhood with the universe. And we of the church believe that the laws of God forbid man to destroy his own kind, to destroy the sanity of another, to destroy or enslave another's soul, to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group. And we of the church believe that the spirit can be saved, and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. So those are some of the basic fundamental things in which the church believes and the things in which we will act upon. Now, when you look at things that you believe and things that you will act upon, a very interesting topic comes into play, and that is personal integrity. So, how do you use your personal integrity on a day-to-day basis? Let's take a look at what personal integrity is. Personal Integrity by L. Ron Hubbard. What is true for you is what you have observed yourself. And when you lose that, you have lost everything. What is personal integrity? Personal integrity is knowing what you know. What you know is what you know. And to have the courage to know and say what you have observed. And that is integrity. And there is no other integrity. Of course, we can talk about honor, truth, all these things, these esoteric terms. But I think they'd all be covered very well if what we really observed was what we observed. That we took care to observe what we were observing. That we always observed to observe. And not necessarily maintaining a skeptical attitude, a critical attitude, or an open mind. But certainly maintaining sufficient personal integrity and sufficient personal belief and confidence in self and courage that we can observe what we observe and say what we have observed. Nothing in Dianetics and Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it, and it is true according to your observation. That is all. Now, how do you use personal integrity in your day-to-day life? What are the things that you know that you know? And when someone says something that is opposite to what you know, do you stand up for what you know? If not, then I would suggest you apply personal integrity to your own life and stand up for what you know is true. Because what's true for you is what you have observed. So now, let's have a look at the best friend that you will always have, which is you. How can you be of benefit to you? What knowledge could allow for you to lead a better life? Let's take a look at that from getting to know ourselves. Are you a friend of yours? Probably the most neglected friend you have is you. And yet, every man, before he can be a true friend to the world, must first become a friend to himself. In this society, where aberration flourishes in the crowded cities and marts of business, few are the men who have not been subjected on every hand to a campaign to convince them that they are much less than they think they are. You would fight anyone who said of your friends what is implied to you. It is time that you fought for the best friend you will ever have, yourself. The first move in striking up this friendship is to make an acquaintance with what you are and what you might become. Know thyself, said the ancient Greek. Until recently, it was not possible to make a very wide acquaintance. Little was known about human behavior, but atomic physics, in revealing new knowledge to man, has also revealed the general characteristics of the energy of life, and by that, a great deal can be known, which was not before suspected. You do not need to know atomic physics to know yourself, but you need to know something of the apparent goal of life in general and your own goals in particular. Just now, let's take the general goal of all life. Knowing that, we can know something about the basic laws which motivate your own urges and behavior. All problems are basically simple, once you know the fundamental answer. And this is no exception in life. For thousands of years, men strove to discover the underlying drives of existence, and in an enlightened age, when exploration of the universes had already yielded enough secrets to give us atom bombs, it became possible to explore for and find the fundamental law of life. What would you do if you had this fundamental law? How easily then would you understand all the puzzles, riddles, and complexities of personality and behavior? You could understand conjurers, bank presidents, colonels, and coolies. A coolie is an Asian laborer. So it's someone who lives in Asia and is a laborer, which is a coolie. Kings, cats, and coal heavers. And more important, you could easily predict what they would do in any given circumstance, and you would know what to expect from anyone without any guesswork. Indeed, with the security diabolical in its accuracy. In the beginning was the Word. But what was the Word? What fundamental principle did it outline? What understanding would one have if he knew it? An ancient Persian king once made a great effort to know this word. He tried to discover it by having his sages boil down all the knowledge of the world. At his orders, every book written could be obtained was collected together in an enormous library. Books were brought into that ancient city by the caravan load. And the wise men of that time worked for years, condensing every piece of knowledge which was known into a single volume. But the king wanted a better statement of the fundamental word, and he made his sages reduce that volume to a single page. And he made them reduce it again into a sentence. And then, after many more years of study, his philosophers finally obtained a single word, the formula which would solve all riddles. And the city died in war, and the word was lost. But what was it? Certainly, its value, since it would make an understanding of man possible, exceeded the riches of Persia. 2,000 years later, out of the studies of atomic and molecular phenomena, we can again postulate what that word was and use it. Use it to know ourselves and predict the actions of other men. The dynamic principle of existence is survival. At first glance, that may seem too basic. It may seem too simple. But when we examine this word, we find some things about it which make it possible for us to do tricks with it, and to know things which were never known before. Knowledge could be represented by a pyramid. At the top, we would have a simple fact, but a fact so widely embracing the universe that many facts could be known from it. From this point, we could conceive descending into greater and greater numbers of facts, represented by the broadening of the pyramid. At any point we examine this pyramid, we would find that as one descended, he would find facts of wider and less related meanings. As one went up, he would find greater and greater simplicities. Science is the process of starting low on the pyramid, much like the Persian king, and rising up in an effort to discover more basic facts which explain later facts. Philosophy could be said to be the operation of taking very basic facts and then leading them into explanations of greater and greater numbers of facts. At the point of our pyramid, we have survival. It is as though at some remarkably distant time, the Supreme Being gave forth the command to all life, survive. It was not said how to survive, nor yet how long. All that was said was survive. The reverse of survive is to succumb. And that is the penalty for not engaging in survival activities. But what of such things as morals, ideals, love? Don't these things go above mere survival? Unfortunately or fortunately, they do not. When one thinks of survival, one is apt to make the error of thinking in terms of barest necessity. That is not survival, for it has no margin for loss. The engineer, when he constructs a bridge, uses something called a factor of safety. If a bridge is to hold 10 tons, he builds it to hold 50 tons. He makes that bridge 5 times as strong. Then he has a margin for deterioration of the materials, overloading, sudden and unforeseen stress of elements, and any accident which may occur. In life, the only real guarantee of survival is abundance. A farmer who calculates to need 12 bushels of grain for his food for a year and plants 12 bushels of grain has to cut back his chances of survival very markedly. The fact is, he will not survive unless some neighbor who has been more prudent, for the grasshoppers will take part of the wheat, and the drought will take some, and the hail will take some, and the tax gatherer will take some. And what will he do for seed wheat if he intends to use all he plants for food? No, the farmer who knows he has to eat 12 bushels of wheat in the coming year had better plant 100. Then the grasshoppers and internal revenue people can chew away as they will. The farmer will still be able to harvest enough for his own food. An individual survives or succumbs in ratio to his ability to acquire and hold the wherewithal of survival. The security of a good job, for instance, means the guarantee of survival. Other threats to existence not becoming too overpowering. The man who makes 1,000 a year, who makes thousands a year, can afford better clothing against the weather, a sounder and better home, medical care for himself and his family, good transportation, and what is important, the respect of his fellows. All these things are survival. Of course, the man who makes thousands a year can have such a worrisome job, can excite so much envy from his fellows, and can be so harassed that he loses some of his survival potential. But even a subversive will change his political coat if you offer him thousands a year. Take the man who makes a few dollars a week. He wears clothes which barely protect him. Thus, he can easily become ill. He lives in a place which but ill defends him from the weather. He is haggard with concern. For his level of survival is so low that he has no margin, no abundance. He cannot bank against the day that he becomes ill. And he cannot pay the doctor. And he can take no vacations. Even in a collective state, his lot would be such, his regimentation so thorough, that he could do little to protect his own survival. Youth has a survival abundance over old age. For youth still has endurance and the dreams of youth. Good survival stuff. Dreams are not yet broken by failures. Youth has, in addition, a long expectancy, and that is important, for survival includes length of time to live. As for ideals, as for honesty, as for one's love of his fellow man, one cannot find good survival for one or for many where these things are absent. The criminal does not survive well. The average criminal spends the majority of his adult years caged like some wild beast and guarded from escape by guns of good marksmen. A man who is known to be honest is awarded survival, good jobs, good friends, and the man who has his ideals, no matter how thoroughly the minions of the devil may wheedle him to desert them, survives well only so long as he is true to those ideals. Have you ever heard about a doctor who, for the sake of gain, begins to secretly attend criminals or peddle dope? That doctor does not survive long after his ideals are laid aside. In short, the most esoteric concepts fall within this understanding of survival. One survives so long as he is true to himself, his family, his friends, and the laws of the universe. To learn more about your survival and to better yours, read the Scientology Handbook. It will help you understand yourself and give you data that you can use to help others. Now, I look forward to seeing you guys next week, as on next Sunday, we'll be talking about what is greatness. Now, man does not have to walk around and boast and brag and beat upon his chest to show that he is really great. But there is a very simple factor that actually distinguishes a man who is truly great from a man who is striving for greatness. Before reading the reading of the prayer, I would like to take a moment to let us keep in mind the Mozolevsky family in our hearts and mind in their time of bereavement of the dearly departed Theodore Mozolevsky this past week. Now, let us read the Scientology prayer for total freedom. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe. And may others also reach this understanding which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want. Freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like. And freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. Thank you for coming to Sunday service. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next week.